What's up, guys? It's your girl Mac Cox with Maccouture Crafting. Yes, we are doing another kit. This one is called So Quick and it's by 3 Yard Quilts, and I love how it turned out. Let's take a look at the pattern. This is another one that can be downloaded. You can find this in 3 Yard Quilt favorites, and this is another one that was super duper popular. And I want to say that it made it into one of their top 10 quilts patterns of 2021. So I decided that I was going to kit this with the help of House of Threads, and I'm going to show you what mine looks like right now. Let's see. Here we are. Isn't it gorgeous? I like it. So we're using Tula Pink Daydreamer, and you guys, if you haven't done so already, I suggest you play with this. These fabrics are so pretty, but this is going to be one of my last Daydreamer projects. I'm going to move on from this fabric. I know, can you believe it? I think I have one more project, one more 3 Yard quilt to show with this fabric, and then we're moving on. Tiny Beast will be up next, and we'll see what kind of things we do with that. So here, the butterflies, thank goodness, are non-directional. There are some that are up, there are some that are down, so it really doesn't matter. You have enough fabric to do some wonderful fussy cutting here in these cornerstones, and this ombre fabric just sings. I decided to place the lighter ombres down the center, and then the medium ones are here, and then the deeper shades are out there on the ends. Um, this yellow is just, it's pretty. It's just pretty. It's simple. It's easy. And when she says so quick, she absolutely means that you can sew this very, very quickly. There's something that you want to watch out for with these 4 patches. It seems super duper simple. However, I screwed them up. So you wouldn't think you could mess up a 4 patch, right? But you can. And so be sure to watch this entire video for the tips that I have about making a 4 patch nice and clean and pretty. And other than that, it's just a really nice, simple, fast, so quick 3 Yard quilt pattern. Again, you can get this entire quilt kit through House of Threads, and I will absolutely leave that information in the description bar if you want to grab this kit yourself. All right, I will talk with you all later. Bye-bye. So we are going to do another Daydreamer 3 Yard quilt. I've got one more to do, and then I think that's going to call it with all of my Daydreamer projects. We're going to do So Quick, and it's a nice and simple, easy one. And the reason why I chose this pattern for this set of fabrics is because it's got this huge block and then just a 4 patch. And they have that super beautiful border around where we're going to let this fabric here, this ombre, sing. So the ombre is going to be my fabric number 3. The butterfly is going to be my fabric number 1, and the yellow is going to be my number 2. Let's start cutting these strips. So for this here, I'm cutting these small strips down to size. I'm going to actually fussy cut these so that the corners, because I have so much left over for the fabric number 1, which is really cool with this particular pattern because it's such a, you know, it's got these super focal images on it. So I'm going to fussy cut so that I get one of these in each of the corners. Fussy cutting. So I'm grabbing my tape that has lint all over it because it stays here in the craft room. And I'm going to mark off the dimensions that I need for this, just so that I can kind of get what I want centered. So I'm just taping it off. The best I can. And I'm taping it off one direction, and then I'm going to tape it off the other direction. All right. And this is just giving a super duper duper simple quilt a little zhuzh. I'll get rid of the tape. We don't need that any longer. Painter's tape in the sewing room is a must. People use it to do their quilting, to see their stuff. Okay. All right, now I'm just going to eyeball what I think center is and then move from there. All right. Okay, so from the measurement that we need, I am going to put what I believe is center on half of that measurement. So for instance, if my measurement was 3 inches, I would put it at put the center at 1.5, and I'm just eyeballing this right now. And that feels cool. So I'm going to take this off here. That's right, because it is already the width that the length that I need. So we're just going to move you right there. And I'm going to be sure that this is laying on that line. Here we go. Got it. And then I'm going to rotate it and take off the rest. It should butt right up against this tape. Well, I didn't tape it off the best, but you get the point. And then it just sits in that L, and then you take off the rest of it, and bam, you've got a fussy cut image. It's pretty center. It's spooky. I like it. All right, I'm going to do the same thing with these other 3. This one, it's kind of difficult to tell where center is without actually measuring from tip to tip, and you know, who wants to do all that? So I'm just going to shoot for about right here. And then if I'm wrong, I'm going to feel really silly. But I can kind of see what we're working with here, and I'm cool with that. Actually, let's take it over a little. Let's take it about right there. I don't think this one is going to matter oh so much. Take off this tip. Flip this guy around. And sit it in the L. And yeah, that's cute. I like where it's sitting. if I didn't, I still have time to scoot it over this way because there's still some fabric over here, but this is cool. And a quarter of it's going to be gone anyway. And so I like that the 1/4 inch is going to be in the seam, and the 1/4 inch is going to be in the seam for this particular butterfly. Is that a butterfly or a dragonfly? I don't know. Love it. Love how they come off the edges. And so we'll just see just a touch of this guy. So there we are. These are my corners. Something fun to do if you're using this particular fabric, which you can be if you grab that kit by House of Threads. So these are all the pieces that are needed for this quilt. Something strange about this quilt that I haven't really incurred before is all of this is left over. Totally gonna make a matching pillow or something, because this is enough fabric to really make a matching pillow or a bag. For sure you could do a bag, but it is like, you know, a good amount. It's like a whole strip. This is a whole strip, this is a whole strip, and then this is a strip. And the only reason why I have these right here is because I actually fussy cut those butterflies. So I'm really excited about how much you have left over, assuming that I cut this properly. So the first thing I'm going to do is start working with these two here. This is just by itself. This is going to be for a border, and this is binding, and this is going to be for a border. Easy peasy. Let's get to it. Oh, I'm going to sew these two together on the long side and then cut them up, subcut them. So for this, because we're using an ombre, we get options again. So I can figure out if I want to have like darker blocks, or if I want to take a block from the center here and have a block that is super light here with it. So I think I'm just going to stack these up in order of color and then play with it in a minute and figure out how I want to lay these out. Okay, so we sewed our strips together. We opened them and we just pressed to a side. The side does not matter. I just pressed whichever way I felt like in that moment. And we've got some really pretty, nice finished what do you call these? 4 squares? 4 patches. 4 squares, my goodness. Now we just need to lay them out. And there are 4 in a row. So it's going to go patch, solid, patch, and then another solid. And then I'm going to just start sewing the rows together until we get the middle of our quilt. Let's look at these really quickly. I am running into a design issue because I just did not pay attention to that. I didn't even think that this could happen, honestly. It just didn't seem like it could. So in this here, it's a white square and a black square, which is telling us our pattern design. And then from there, you can kind of see that it's going to make secondary designs and that kind of thing. When you're dealing with ombre fabric, it's not always easy to tell which color is supposed to be represented by which block, right? Okay, fine, no big deal. If you're consistent, you won't have this issue. Apparently I wasn't. So I sewed my blocks together, but when you do the two strips, depending upon which side you place it and then sew down the middle, you will get a different block. And you wouldn't think that it would be a different block because it's a square. And if these were solids, it would make a difference. However, the ombres here are on the right and the left. This block was done properly because this fabric here is my fabric number 2. So this block is right. If I want this block to have the diamonds going up and down, which in an ideal world they would, this would be great. However, this block and this block are different. This can't happen for this block. I can turn it because it's a square, it's not going to be a big issue, but now this is going this way. So if I had a directional fabric that I was super particular about, I would be running into an issue. So the way that you fix that is when you are cutting these and sewing these together, be consistent. Even if I were to have switched this, it would have been consistent and I still would have gotten a secondary pattern that made sense. I hope this makes sense, but I ran into this and I wanted to share it with you guys. So be sure that you are sewing the right block where it's supposed to go. Isn't that a trip? So now I'm going to do a little picking in certain places. I'm okay with this fabric being turned to the side, but I'm not okay with these not landing where they're supposed to land. So I'm going to do some picking and fix it all up for us, and then we will move forward. Okay, bye-bye. So I have sewn together all the blocks and it's time to do the border. Make sure you're using the wider border. The other one looks very close. It's just a little bit thinner, and this is your binding. So you want to be sure that you're using a thicker one for that first border. And the first border is the one that's going to go on first. So I'm just going to sew these little ends together, then measure the side of the quilt, and then sew the strip onto the quilt side. So now it's time to cut off the selvage of these, sew them together, take the measurement of the short end, this is the short end of the quilt, and cut a strip that measures this entire distance, and add 2 of the cornerstones to that strip. Then you sew the strips on either side without the cornerstones. You're just going to sew the strips down, the rest of them, on either side. Then you're going to add the top and bottom cornerstone with this on there. Don't worry, I'm going to show you. Okay, so the side borders have been sewn on. And so now we are going to take the top border piece that we measured the length of this without these side borders on, and we sewed these little butterfly cornerstones on, and we're just going to pin it and sew it on, and then this quilt will be done. And this is the bottom, so I'm going to be sure that my cornerstones are facing the right direction. All right, let's go.